Miss Monroe, a rival of yours, and Miss Diana Dors has arrived in the United States. Is your going to England just a coincidence, or is it any kind of an exchange arrangement? So we won't be lonesome while you're gone.
Well, I'm afraid not. We've made arrangements about the Sleeping Prince, well, nearly a year ago. I mean, it's been going on.
Well, have you met Diana Dors?
No, I've never met her.
Well, you ever seen her in films? You ever seen her act?
No, I haven't.
Then you're not in a position to comment on.
Sorry.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the amazing actress Diana Dors. According to Screen Online, as famous for her not very private life as for her screen performances, Diana Dors spent much of her career being touted as Britain's answer to Marilyn Monroe. Though this certainly helped her profile and has ensured her immortality, it also tended to work against a genuine talent as an actress and comedian. She was born Diana Mary Fluck in Swindon on 23 October 1931 during the Great Depression in the suffocating, and studied at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts at the age of 14. She was offered a 10-year contract with the Rank organization and joined the ill-fated Rank Charm School, which had been set up to discover and groom British stars to match Hollywood idols like Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe. She changed her name to Diana Dors, her grandmother's maiden name, but despite a brief appearance in David Lean's Oliver Twist, she was already being typecast as the sleazy blonde good time girl in third-rate crime films. Her screen career never really took off, and her Rank contract lapsed in 1950. Diana's father kept his daughter under control by giving her just enough money for her accommodation at the UCA, lunches, travel to and from the academy each day, and weekly train fare home at the weekend. She defied everyone's expectations and signed her first contract with the Rank organization. At this point, she professed little interest in her income, and she allowed her father to take care of her finances. She said, "Money was the last thing I cared about. My real concern was acting and making films." According to History Press, Diana earned extra money modeling for the Camera Club, and she was often handed cash after completing acting assignments. It would be true to say she lived for the day, spending money on parties, friends, and the young men in her life. This was soon to change. Rank were having financial difficulties and eventually made their contract artistes, including Diana, redundant. Diana, unable to put the brakes on her spending, resorted to writing post-dated checks and borrowing money. Around this time, she met the man who would alter the direction of her career and change everything. Dennis Hamilton breezed into Diana's life with devastating charm. Later, she denied that she had ever been in love with him, but she clearly was under his influence. In 1951, within weeks of meeting him, he convinced her they should get married. It was here that Diana's financial turmoil began in earnest. Their marriage would unfortunately result in her becoming as famous for her court appearances and bankruptcy exploits as for her acting career. Dennis had an inability to live within his means. He took control of Diana's life and career, making decisions on which jobs she could accept, disregarding her art, chasing the money, and turning down roles that would further Diana's reputation as an actress. For example, he chose to accept cabaret and revue roles on her behalf because they commanded a higher salary. Their marriage was never built to last, but even after they separated, Dennis managed her financial and business affairs. He purchased property, cars, and a boat without consulting Diana in the decision-making process. Then Dennis died suddenly in 1959. He left no assets to Diana. Although living separately, they had still been married, which resulted in Diana having to pick up the debts he had left behind. Diana carried the financial burden of Dennis's debts over to her second marriage, claiming in her bankruptcy trial that when the marriage had ended, she signed away PS $100,000 worth of assets at the point of a gun. Diana continued the pattern of giving financial and career control to husband number 2, British-American actor Richard "Dickie" Dawson. She was once again the breadwinner of the family, and a working mother of 2 young sons, Mark and Gary. Diana's work ethic was beyond reproach. She would do whatever it took to keep her children in the lifestyle they had become accustomed to whilst living in California. She made several more films in the late 1940s, including more substantial credited roles in the holiday camp sequels Here Come the Huggets and Vote for Both Ken Anick in 1948, The Slatternly Charlotte in David Lean's Oliver Twist 1948, and the bad girl opposite Honor Blackman's more virtuous roles in cycling comedy A Boy, A Girl and a Bike, Ralph Smart 1949, and imitation western Diamond City, David MacDonald 1949. She had high hopes for the latter, which gave her third billing and the chance to perform several song and dance numbers, but it was a critical and commercial failure. Her rank contract continued until 1950 with little improvement in the range of roles on offer, and a turbulent private life involved in illegal abortion shortly after her 18th birthday. Lady Godiva Rides Again Under 1951 first hinted at her sex symbol potential after it was censored in the U.S. for alleged though largely mythical salaciousness. Offered a Hollywood contract by producer Robert Lippert, she turned it down after he made advances to her, and her publicist spun this as a patriotic decision on her part to spurn America in favor of her home country. She continued to act regularly in British films, her most fruitful collaboration being with the up-and-coming writer-turned-director J. Lee Thompson. They worked together on prison drama The Week and The Wicked 1954, and a couple of amiable light comedies, An Alligator Named Daisy 1955, and As Long as They're Happy 1955, before he cast her as the lead in Yield
Oh, Delaney.
I'm an actress.
She lives at...
to the Night 1956. An anti-capital punishment drama clearly inspired by the previous year's Ruth Ellis scandal. Eyebrows were raised at Dors being offered such a challenging dramatic role, given that her blonde bombshell image at the time was almost exclusively associated with comedy, but she rose to the occasion, managing to evoke considerable sympathy for her condemned but essentially unsympathetic character. This finally led to an international career, including several minor Hollywood films as well as appearances in French and Spanish productions. None of them had the impact of her best British work, and by the early 1960s she had returned to work exclusively in her native country. Now in her 30s, big screen roles were beginning to dry up, and she was devoting increasing amounts of time to television, appearing in several armchair theater productions. Her major television breakthrough came in 1970, when she starred in Keith Waterhouse and Willis Hall's popular three-series Yorkshire sitcom Queenie's Castle in 1970 to 1972, followed by the thinly disguised sequel All Our Yesterdays 1973, and a splendid characterization of the vulgar nouveau riche, Mrs. Bott, mother of the dreaded Violet Elizabeth. His adaptation of Richmal Crompton's Just William 1977 to 1978. These roles, alongside regular appearances in game shows Joker's Wild 1971 to 1974, Looks Familiar 1972 to 1986, Blankety Blank BC 1979 to 1989, and guest cameos on the two Ron Easer serial The Worm That Turned DBC. And a more camp and wise Christmas show 1982 cemented her association with comedy not entirely fairly, as the late 1960s and early 1970s saw a remarkable run of serious character parts. She was very proud of her evil, gin-swigging old tart of 60 in Baby Love Alistair Reed 1967, and made a huge impact in a single-scene cameo as a sexually frustrated middle-aged woman attempting to seduce teenage pool attendant John Mulder Brown, with elaborate fantasies about footballers in Jerzy Skolimowski's Deep End, West Germany, 1970. Her second and third marriages were to actor Richard Dawson and businessman Alan Lake, respectively. She had 2 more children with Alan Lake. Diana Dors continued to work in the entertainment industry until her death. Unfortunately, her health began to decline, and she battled various illnesses, including cancer. Diana Dors passed away on May 4th, 1984, at the age of 52. Diana Dors left behind a legacy as one of Britain's most iconic and enduring sex symbols. She was known for her vivacious personality, captivating beauty, and undeniable talent. Her contributions to the film and entertainment industry continue to be celebrated, and she remains an influential figure in British cinema history.